I have fond memories of my childhood, especially the time I spent with my sister and Charlie's best friend. Despite the typical rivalry with my sister, we now have a great relationship. The Cook family lived next door, consisting of Mr. and Mrs. Cook and their daughter Charlie. Charlie, whose real name was Charlene, but she preferred to be called Charlie, was my closest friend. We shared everything and went to school together from the first grade. Although some people mistook our friendship for something more, we were just buddies. As we got older, our bond remained strong. We continued to go to school together, study in the evenings, and have fun riding bicycles, watching movies and camping in the backyard. But when we became teenagers, we no longer had sleepovers because our parents thought we were too old for such things. Despite the busy schedule of school activities and sports, we always found time to spend time together. While I was involved in school organizations and sports like baseball and football, Charlie excelled at girls' softball and playing wind instruments like the saxophone. Due to our busy schedules, we didn't see each other that often in high school, but our friendship remained strong. I even invited Charlie to the prom, but her mother thought she was too young, so I invited another girl. I missed graduation in my senior year, but I heard from Charlie that she had an unforgettable time, despite the incident with a boy named Mike. Looking back, I cherish the memories of my childhood spent with my sister and Charlie. Our friendship has stood the test of time, and I am grateful for the bond we have shared over the years. She didn't reveal her profession, but it brought a smile to my face. After graduating from high school, I started working at a factory for the production of spare parts. One day returning home, I noticed Charlie on the porch with a charming girl. When I approached, she introduced me to Candy, her cousin. Jeff, meet Candy, my cousin who recently moved from Arizona. Her father, my uncle, is in the army. Candy, in turn, was introduced to me as Charlie's friend and best friend. I greeted her warmly and asked about her profession. I found out that she was 21 years old, and I was 19 at the time. Candy told me that she worked as a secretary in an insurance office. She was undeniably attractive, and as I admired her, I felt a hint of disapproval from Charlie. Our conversation continued on the porch, and I decided to invite Candy to go to the movies with me on Saturday night. To my surprise, she agreed, but on the condition that Charlie would not mind. "I wouldn't want to intrude on your relationship," Candy remarked. Charlie assured her that there was nothing wrong with that, saying that we were just good friends. "Isn't that right, Jeff?" she said, giving me a stern look. I could feel her hidden disappointment, even though she was trying to hide it. "We're just friends. Besides, there's a football game on Saturday, and Charlie's playing in the orchestra." I took Candy's contact information and promised to see her on Saturday. After dinner with my parents, I mentioned Candy, and they asked what Charlie thought. "She didn't say anything because she had to speak at the game," I said. I picked up Candy on Saturday. We went to the cinema, where I was surprised by her choice of outfit, a skirt and blouse, unlike Charlie's usual jeans. During the conversation on the way to the cinema, we discussed our work. Candy preferred to sit in the back row of the cinema, and I followed her example. During the movie, she discreetly put my hand on her hip, a gesture I hadn't experienced before. Despite my past experiences with other girls, I refrained from telling Charlie about him, as it seemed inappropriate. Candy, who at 21 was older and more experienced, seemed unfazed by my actions. She studied at college for 2 years and received a degree in secretary. While I was studying the film, she did not look away from watching it, and finally looked at me with a smile. We continued watching the movie and then parked and engaged in intimate moments. When she asked about the remedies, I admitted that I didn't have any. She made it clear that she would not continue without him, but allowed the acquaintance to continue. I realized that I wanted to continue dating her, and I invited her next weekend, promising that I would be ready to protect myself. Thoughts of her occupied my entire mind, and although I couldn't say that I loved her, I knew that I felt a strong connection. I met Charlie a few days later and she looked worried. "Jeff, we need to talk," she said. Curious, I asked what was on her mind. She warned me about her cousin Candy, saying she was wild and that I had to be careful. Apparently, Candy asked Charlie if we'd had anything intimate, and Charlie assured her that we were just friends and that I hadn't had any intimate moments yet. I was stunned and upset that she shared our private conversation with Candy. I felt like an idiot. Later, when I picked up Candy for a date, I couldn't help feeling awkward. Despite the fact that she looked good in trousers and a blouse, I couldn't get rid of the feeling of discomfort. As we walked to dinner, I couldn't help but think about how events would unfold. Reflecting on my life next door to Charlie, I realized that because of my father's military service, we were constantly moving, but Charlie and her family visited us several times. Despite this, I have never met Candy. It seemed like Charlie wanted to keep me with her. The situation with Candy and Charlie left me disappointed and confused. I couldn't understand why Charlie would share our private conversation with her cousin, causing unnecessary tension between us. I've prepared myself for the upcoming evening, which may be awkward. What are you going to do? I asked. I have a key to my friend's apartment at work. She said we could use it for a few hours. Do you want to make love to me or go to a movie? Candy answered. She giggled as we walked to the apartment. It might not have been the most luxurious place, but all I could think about was the intimate time we were going to share. When we started kissing, I couldn't help but notice how great she was at kissing. The passion between us was undeniable while we were making love. We lay for a while enjoying each other's company, but the moment of bliss was interrupted when I realized that the protection had fallen off. Candy began to panic, expressing concerns about pregnancy. I suggested that she consider using birth control pills for added safety. I was willing to pay the cost, and she agreed to make an appointment with a doctor. Meanwhile, we continued to protect ourselves. Our relationship was developing, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't as compatible as we were with Charlie. When Charlie found out about my intimate encounter with Candy, she was furious. She couldn't understand how I could betray her trust by being with someone else. Despite her anger, I tried to explain that Candy was different and that I still cared about her, but Charlie couldn't get over the hurt and disappointment. As a result, I realized that relationships and intimacy can be difficult. Although my intention was to enjoy a physical connection with Candy, I unintentionally hurt someone who was deeply dear to me. It was a lesson about the complexities of love, trust, and communication. I'm on the verge of despising you for the way you treat our friendship. I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to talk to you again, Charlie said. She left angrily and headed home. I was left wondering why I had upset her so much. Women are so confusing. Despite using protective equipment, Candy continued to delay taking birth control pills. I continued to date her, but I didn't notice any problems with protection. Charlie barely spoke to me, greeting me with a simple, hello. Later, I found out that she was going to the prom and didn't invite me. Confused, I went to her house and knocked on the door. I asked her why she didn't want me to invite her to the prom. What happened? I asked. You and my cousin, that's what happened. Do you really think that I will go to the prom with you while you are in a relationship with my cousin? Charlie slammed the door in my face. I loved being with Candy and enjoying the physical aspect of our relationship, but I missed Charlie. My life was in a complete mess, and things only got worse when Candy called and offered to meet me in the evening. I went to her house and asked her what the urgent question was. I found myself in a situation I never expected. Candy was pregnant with my child. It came as a shock to both of us because we were just casual partners in an intimate life. We sat down and discussed our options, considered the possibility of an abortion, but eventually decided to get married. Candy was worried about her reputation and her job, but we knew it was the right thing to do. When we broke the news to our parents, the reaction was mixed. Candy's parents were upset at first, but eventually supported us, while my own parents were angry and disappointed in me. I knew I had let them down, but now there was no turning back. Telling my best friend Charlie was the hardest part. She already knew and wasn't afraid to tell me that marrying Candy was a mistake. Despite her disapproval, she promised to support me when the time came. Her words left me confused, but I appreciated her honesty and support. Candy and I decided to have a small private wedding so as not to draw attention to her pregnancy. It was a whirlwind of emotions, but I believed that I could learn to love her and be a good husband and father. The future was uncertain, but I was determined to do my best for our growing family. Only our parents and my sister were present at the event. Unfortunately, Charlie didn't show up, which made me feel disappointed. We managed to find a modest apartment that matched our budget and provided us with a roof over our heads. Our family has generously provided us with basic necessities to help us start a new life together. Adjusting to this new chapter was not easy. I was coming home from work and waiting for Candy to join me. I often started cooking a simple dinner for the two of us, and then sat down to watch TV or visit my parents. As Candy's pregnancy progressed, her mood swings became more frequent. Despite the difficulties, I tried to take everything in stride. I attended Charlie's graduation, proud of her success, but Candy was offended at me for going, even though I asked her if she wanted to go with me. I couldn't understand women's emotions. At graduation, I apologized to Charlie for the unintended offense I might have caused her, but she didn't seem interested in further discussion. I felt a sense of loss when she left. In the meantime, I focused on working long hours and taking extra shifts to support our growing family. Fortunately, Candy had insurance to cover the cost of delivering our twins. I was surprised to learn that we are expecting 2 children, especially at the age of 20. My job provided the necessary benefits to add children to my insurance plan after they were born. Life flowed rapidly, and I devoted most of my time to work and saving money. The second bedroom of our apartment was prepared for the birth of twins, thanks to donations from colleagues and a party for newborns hosted by my mother. In the last months before the birth of the twins, the intimacy between us was weakening, and I felt nervous and exhausted. Despite this, there were several moments of physical intimacy when Candy sometimes gave me pleasure. Feeling like a stranger in our family, I decided one day to stay at home while she visited her parents, who didn't seem to approve of me. While I was assembling children's furniture, there was a knock on the door, and I found an unexpected visitor, Charlie. Charlie, a friend from the past, came with a baby gift in her hands and expressed regret that she missed the baby's birthday party. I was grateful for her presence and invited her into the house, where we began to assemble furniture. Despite my strained relationship with Candy, I couldn't help but feel comfortable in Charlie's company. We talked about old times and learned about each other's lives, and Charlie shared her plans to pursue a career as a nurse. But the peaceful moment was ruined when Candy unexpectedly returned and attacked Charlie, accusing her of trying to interfere in our marriage. I found myself in the middle of this heated exchange, feeling confused. Candy's words hinted at a past history between Charlie and me, and I wondered what I was getting into. When the argument broke out, I intervened, trying to defuse the situation before it got out of control. Despite the chaos, I couldn't shake the feeling of nostalgia and familiarity that Charlie's presence evoked, torn between Candy's devotion and a lingering bond with an old friend. Candy, I do not know what is going on, but Charlie will always be my friend. She came to give a gift for our future children. There's nothing romantic between Charlie and me, and it never was, I said. Look, Charlie said, I'm sorry for all the misunderstandings. I wish you both all the best. It's time for me to leave. With tears in her eyes, she walked out the door. Candy, what was that? Charlie is your cousin, and we've always been best friends. You had no right to treat her like that, I said. I understand that you're pregnant and your hormones are on edge, but Charlie didn't deserve the harsh words you said, I continued. She loves you and has always loved you. You're my husband now, and I don't want you to be alone with her, Candy said. I was speechless. I decided not to start another argument with Candy. So far, I've left it as it is. I couldn't help but wonder if she knew something I didn't. Does Charlie really have feelings for me? As time went on, we tried to communicate. Candy had a few good days, but mostly she blamed me for her pregnancy. We were scared and not ready for parenthood, but here we are. Candy called me at work. She had to go to the hospital. The kids were on their way. I rushed to the hospital and called our parents. They arrived shortly after me. Candy was in pain and cursing at me. She said hurtful things, wanting me to experience what she had experienced. She continued to express her pain and anger. I was glad that our parents did not hear her screams during childbirth. I was next to her in the delivery room, but she hardly said a single kind word to me. I knew she was in pain, but I felt helpless. I offered to take her hand, but she didn't want my touch. Finally, she screamed, and I saw the head of the first child, a boy who looked a little rough. My stomach rumbled. The nurse assured me that all children look like this until they are put in order, and smiled at me comfortingly. A few minutes later, the second child was brought in, a girl who looked the same as the first one. Candy looked exhausted, but felt relieved after the babies were put in order. I informed our parents that they were now grandparents of a grandson and granddaughter who were absolutely healthy. I felt relieved that this ordeal was finally over. We waited in the waiting room until we were allowed to see Candy and the babies, but she still wouldn't talk to me or anyone else. When the babies arrived, everyone except Candy looked worried. We named them Larry and Sherry, and despite their initial rough appearance, they were adorable. I was happy to become a father. In the following days, we brought our babies home to a prepared room. Candy seemed to warm up to them immediately, and I did my best to help her. She decided not to breastfeed, so we fed the babies with formula. I made a promise to help myself as much as I could. Candy took a 2-month parental leave, and when I returned from work, she asked me to look after the kids, as she had been doing it all day. I didn't mind at all, because I really enjoyed being a father. I was happy to take on the responsibility of changing diapers from the very beginning. Every day, I looked forward to coming home and spending time with my twins. Candy, on the other hand, didn't seem to have the same enthusiasm for children that I did. I thought it was because she was overwhelmed with emotion. I did my best to calm her down at this time. She eventually signed up for an exercise club to get her body back before the baby was born. It became clear to me that she was having a hard time going through the changes in her appearance. She attended classes every night after I returned from work, and in a short time she began to look amazing. I always praised her for her success. It took 2 months before she felt comfortable enough to get intimate with me again, and she started taking birth control pills to prevent pregnancy. When we were planning her return to work, my mom suggested that she look after the kids while I was at work. She adored the twins and gladly agreed to help. Candy picked up the twins in the morning before going to work, and I picked them up if I wasn't late at work. In most cases, everything worked out. Sometimes Mom would cook dinner, and I would eat there, taking a plate of food home for Candy, since she almost never cooked. One day when I was at my mom's, Charlie came by. I was pleasantly surprised to see her and offered to show her the twins. She mentioned that she often came to her mom after class to help with the twins and described them as charming and precious. When Mom left the room, Charlie expressed everything she thought about Candy, calling her unpleasant names. I had to remind her that she was talking about my wife. Despite the awkward moment, Charlie praised me for being a good father to the twins, then hugged me and left. Mom came back and we continued talking about the kids before I took them home. 9 months had passed since the twins were born, and they were more playful than ever. I liked lying on the floor when they were crawling over me. Watching Candy interact with the children, I noticed that she looked much better. Despite her busy work schedule, twice-weekly workouts, and motherhood, she handles it all with ease. My own schedule is no simpler. I pick up the kids, feed them, and play with them until Mom arrives. That's what it means to be a parent. We also try to visit Candy's parents at least twice a week because they adore children. Candy's parents, Bob and Alice Cook, didn't seem to be so attached to me, but I got their daughter pregnant. Our intimate life is average, not as frequent as I had hoped. I thought we would make love every day for at least a couple of years, but we only get it twice a week. Although it's nice when it happens, I'm always the initiator. We don't go out very often, maybe once every few weeks, and we usually have intimacy these days. Candy likes to drink, but as a responsible driver and father, I prefer to drink pop when we go outside. Recently, we went dancing with her friends from work, and I couldn't help but notice how she was flirting with other men. It bothered me, so I told her about it, and she lowered her tone. But I began to notice that she was working late, claiming that it was due to the restructuring of the computer system in her office. I had my suspicions and decided to investigate. Several times I drove past her office late at night and saw only her car and another one parked outside. It became a wake-up call for me, and I couldn't get rid of the feeling that she might be cheating on me. Candy's jealousy of me didn't help ease my fears either. The thought that she might be with another man while I was sitting at home taking care of our children occupied all my thoughts. One day when I was at my mom's and picking up the kids, a friend named Charlie came to me. Charlie and I often reminisced about the past and talked about children, but that day she made a comment about studying DNA and jokingly asked if she could take mine. Then it dawned on me, is she really hinting that there is a possibility that the children are not mine? Doubts and insecurities crept into my mind, and I couldn't get rid of the feeling of betrayal and resentment. I knew I had to meet with Candy and figure out the situation before she destroyed our family. "Don't be shy. Take their DNA and do whatever you want with them," I said. "Jeff, I really care about Larry and Sherry. I only doubt their mother, and you should doubt it too. Just so you know, I hope they're your kids. I spend more time with them than their mother," Charlie said. "Charlie, why don't you trust Candy so much? She's your cousin," I asked. "I remember how wild she was when we visited them. I don't think she's changed much. She only dated you because she knew about my feelings for you and wanted to take you away from me. And she succeeded," Charlie replied. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "When? Right after you slept with her. No thanks. You made your choice, and now you have to deal with the consequences. But that doesn't mean I'll stop caring about you. I have to go home," she said. I was stunned by this discovery, but later my mother told me that Charlie often came to us after classes. She took time off from her homework to help the children. My emotions were on edge. I was married, I had a family, and I had to do everything I could to get things right. I tried to support Candy even more, but nothing seemed to change. We still had intimate moments once or twice a week, usually after dates. I felt lost until there was a knock on the door. It was Charlie. "What are you doing here, Charlie? If Candy finds you here, she'll be furious. As much as I hate to say it, you'd better leave," I said. "She won't be back for a while. I heard she's working late," Charlie replied. "How do you know?" I asked. "I know I shouldn't interfere, but I'm worried about you and the kids," she replied. On Tuesday, Charlie overheard college gossip that a married woman who works with Candy was having an affair with a married man. A college girl shared this information with her and several other girls who also work part-time at the same agency as Candy. According to gossip, the woman in question stays late on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Curious, Charlie drove by on Tuesday and saw Candy's car in the parking lot next to another car. Today, Thursday, she drove by again and saw her car there again. Charlie called me, worried about what she heard and saw. I asked if there was any evidence of Candy's infidelity, like photos, but she didn't have any. "I just wanted to share what I heard in case it's true and you're being lied to," she said. She apologized for the trouble she caused and assured me that she had no intention of harming our marriage. Feeling awkward and stupid for dragging me into this, Charlie left, regretting that she had caused a possible rift between Candy and me. "I just wanted to look after my friend, but now I realize that I may have crossed the line," she said. Charlie left me confused, not knowing what to do next. When Candy got home, she immediately mentioned the need to take a shower, not paying attention to me or the children. I decided not to mention that Charlie had visited earlier, as it could lead to an argument. But Candy did mention that she had something important to discuss with me. We talked about it the next evening. She informed me that in the third week of August, many of her colleagues will go on a 4-day trip to Atlantic City for a company conference. The company will cover the cost of paying for rooms and most meals for employees. Candy expressed her intention to go on this trip, but I expressed my fear that she would leave our family. I explained that it was not possible to take our 2 young children with me to Atlantic City, and I could not take time off from work, since I used my vacation when the children were born. I suggested she change her mind, but she was adamant. She mentioned that Julie's colleague will share a room with her to save money, and her boss believes that the trip will contribute to her career growth. Upset, I expressed a wish that Candy would stay with us and spend more time with the children. She accused me of being against her career aspirations and hinted that I had feelings for Charlie, which I categorically denied. The conversation escalated. "I've heard rumors that someone in your office is having an affair. Could it be you? If you decide to go to Atlantic City, our marriage may be in jeopardy when you return," I said. 2 weeks before, we argued daily about her departure until she packed up and was ready to leave without working overtime. Feeling insecure, I threatened to divorce her, but she remained unperturbed. After seeking advice from a colleague, I received a referral to a private detective, Joe Miller, who listened to my suspicions of my wife's infidelity. I provided him with information about Atlantic City and a list of employees involved in the trip. Charlie found out through her gossip girlfriend at the agency that the manager and 2 other agents were taking their wives on the trip, but Bill Akers was going alone, despite being married. This information aroused Charlie's suspicions, especially since her cousin Candy and her divorced friend Julie were also traveling alone. I hired Joe, a private investigator, to look into the situation. Joe said that he followed Julie's husband and discovered that he was cheating on her, which led to their divorce. Joe offered to take over my case for a fee of $1,000 a day plus expenses, totaling about $5,000. Unable to pay the full amount, I put $2,500 on my credit card. Joe promised to provide proof if Candy was cheating on me. Feeling out of place, I thought about the future of my marriage. I decided that if Candy was faithful, then I would work to improve our relationship. But if she is cheating, I will seek a divorce. When Candy went on a trip, I spent time with friends and family to distract myself from my suspicions. Despite feeling lonely, I tried to maintain a sense of normality. I also found solace in the company of my friend Charlie, who supported me and distracted me from my problems. As the days passed, I anxiously waited for news from Joe. I struggled with the possibility of my wife's infidelity, but I was determined to get to the truth. In the end, I realized that I had to confront my fears and face the reality of my marriage. The next day, I went to my mom's for dinner. Charlie showed up unexpectedly, and at first I felt a little awkward. After the meal, we all gathered around the TV. It was only Charlie's presence that made me feel happy. Before we knew it, we were laughing and playing with the children. Later, I started talking about the DNA test that Charlie had done with me and the twins. Her expression turned serious, which made me worried. Then she admitted that I was indeed the biological father of the twins. She apologized for doubting me and expressed her happiness for me. She admitted that the children are just wonderful. Despite her previous interference, I couldn't take offense at her. Deep down, I always felt that we should be together. But now, it seemed to be too late. That evening, after putting the kids to bed, I sat down at my computer to read the information Joe had sent me. He informed me that he had noticed Candy, Julie, and Bill Akers sitting at a table together. When she approached Julie, she immediately recognized him. He said he was on vacation for a few days. Julie introduced him to Candy and Bill as an old friend. They invited him to join them at the table. Pretending to be interested in Julie, he asked her to dance, and Bill and Candy joined in. He sent me some pictures from his phone showing them dancing, but he did not provide specific evidence. He outlined his plan to me, explaining that he intended to meet with Julie to get information about their activities. He planned to install a mini camera in their rooms during their meeting the next day, suspecting that any suspicious activity would take place there. After work on Friday, I went home and then went to my mom's to pick up the twins. I checked the computer and found that Joe had set up a live stream in their bedroom. He made it clear that the illegally obtained recording could not be used in court, but he would provide me with all the recordings as leverage. In addition, he installed an audio bug under one of the beds and promised to share any audio and video files if there was any noteworthy information. I decided I wouldn't know more until the next morning. I picked up the kids and went to visit Ben and Betty Cook, who live next door. I haven't seen them in a while. They spent time playing with the children, who were their great-niece and great-nephew. We had a little chat. Charlie came home and was surprised to see us at their house. Mrs. Cook invited us to stay for dinner and made macaroni and cheese for the twins. We stayed up late, and I was in no hurry to leave. Being there made me feel at home. The next morning I woke up early and checked the computer before the kids woke up. My worst fears were confirmed when Joe informed me that he had met Julie, Candy, and Bill for dinner and drinks. After the meeting, Julie went to Joe's room to have a drink at night, and Bill went to his room, and Candy went to hers. Joe sent me a video of Candy talking to Bill on the phone, assuring him that it was safe to return since Julie stayed the night at Joe's. When Bill returned to the room, Candy hugged him and started kissing him. I heard them talking. Oh, how I dreamed of being with you again. We had to ensure our safety before we could be together. I need you to make love to me, Candy said. They undressed and began intimacy. I watched him make love to her twice before I finally turned off the computer. I've had enough for today. I had 2 small children to take care of. I called a lawyer I know and asked about my divorce rights. I mentioned that I have notes and photographs of her with her lover, although they may not be suitable in court. I needed custody of the children. We talked for a while, and I informed him that I would be back next week, most likely to file for divorce. I didn't want to be alone. I needed to talk to someone, and I wanted it to be Charlie. The problem was that I didn't want her to be involved in the divorce. Candy has already threatened to involve Charlie in this case if I try to divorce her. I decided to call Candy at the hotel. She answered the phone. Judging by her voice, she was drunk. Candy, since you haven't called, I decided to contact you. How are you? I'm fine. I had meetings all day and I had dinner with Julie, she replied. I'm getting ready to go to bed now. It was pretty boring today. I need to take a shower before I go to bed. I'll meet you in a couple of days. Goodbye, she said. I had a feeling that she wasn't being honest with me. While we were talking on the phone, I heard a man's voice in the background. She didn't even bother to ask how I or the kids were doing. Maybe I'll get some photos from her later. While I was playing with the children, there was a knock on the door. I opened it and saw Charlie. Hi, I thought you might need some company, she said. We talked for a while. Charlie was always someone I could trust. She noticed my gloomy mood and asked what happened. I confessed that Candy is cheating on me, and I plan to divorce her when she returns home. How do you know for sure, Jeff? It is wrong to speculate about it without having concrete evidence. You can't just divorce her based on rumors, Charlie advised. I explained that I had hired a private investigator to spy on Candy in Atlantic City. The investigator sent me several files and photographs showing her love affair. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This woman, I have to tell her off in full, Charlie reacted angrily. I'm worried about the kids, I said. I warned her that if she went to Atlantic City, then upon her return I might consider divorcing her. She just laughed and threatened to bring in a judge, I continued. Charlie replied, Relax, Jeff. I've always cared about you, and sometimes I've wondered what could have been between us. Have you ever thought of me like that? Yes, many times, but I was stupid and pursued your cousin instead, I confessed. The children were already asleep, and we discussed the possibilities of our relationship. Despite wanting to hug and kiss her, I was a married man, true to my vows. I refused to lower myself to Candy's level. Jeff, if you do get divorced, I'll be there to support you. I won't leave you. You will always be my best friend," Charlie assured. As the clock approached midnight, I hugged her. I was too exhausted to even check my email after the events of that morning. A sudden knock on the door caught Charlie and me off guard. We wondered who could have come to visit at such a late hour. When I heard the knock on the door again, I got up from my seat to answer, but two highway patrolmen met me on the threshold. "Are you Jeffrey Holder?" one of them asked. "Yes, sir, but what brings you here, especially at this hour?" I asked. They asked to go inside, saying they had tragic news. I greeted them, and when they entered, their gaze fell on Charlie, who was sitting in the living room. Sensing their curiosity, I introduced her as my cousin. I sat down in an armchair and asked anxiously, "What does all this mean? I've been at home all evening." And then the officers gave out a sensation. My wife Candy died in a car accident just a few hours ago. Shocked and speechless, I could hardly digest this heartbreaking news. Charlie pulled herself together and informed the officers that Candy was her cousin and that she had come to help me with the children. Desperate for answers, I asked about the details of the accident. The officers explained that they had received a call from Atlantic City, where the accident occurred, and instructed them to notify their next of kin. They reported that Candy was a passenger in her own car, driven by a man named Bill Akers, who was intoxicated. Trying to make sense of the situation, I remembered that I had talked to Candy just a few hours ago, and she hadn't said anything about going anywhere. The officers assured me that Bill Akers is alive, but in critical condition in the hospital. When the reality of the tragedy began to dawn on me, I was overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions and questions. How could this happen? Why was she with Bill Akers? The officers expressed their condolences for my loss, but the pain and confusion of losing my wife in such a senseless accident did not leave me. At the moment, we can only provide limited information. If you need more details, please contact Atlantic City Police tomorrow. We express our condolences in connection with your loss, the officer said. When the officers left, I felt overwhelmed with emotion and burst into tears. Fortunately, Charlie was there and cried with me. Thoughts were spinning in my head. Should I tell her parents and my own? Is it worth waiting until morning so as not to disturb their peace? Charlie assured me that she would be by my side and stressed that I shouldn't be alone at such a difficult time. I couldn't get rid of the idea that I would be perceived by the public, the death of my wife and the presence of Charlie in my apartment. But Charlie's unwavering support and her willingness to help with the children the next day gave me a sense of confidence. I settled down on the couch, knowing that sleep would be elusive. Early in the morning, I turned to the computer in search of answers from Joe. I found several files of her and Bill kissing, and then she undresses in front of him. While she was talking to me on the phone, Bill was giving her pleasure. After the conversation, she finished her drink, got dressed, and left with Bill. I received a long email from Joe, but no audio or visual files. "Jeff, if you're reading this, you should know about Candy's passing. I'm walking away from this case because it's not worth your money. I'll be back in town tomorrow if you want to meet. Consider that the prepayment has been made." I managed to remove the bugs in the camera from Candy's room before the police searched it. Please accept my condolences for your loss. At 7, I called my parents to tell them about Candy's death. I mentioned that she was a passenger in a car driven by an agent from her place of work. I promised to find out more information. My mom was in tears, but she assured me of her support. Then I called Candy's parents and talked to her father, Bob. "Bob, I got a call early this morning saying that Candy died in a car accident in Atlantic City. The police came to break the news," I said. I heard Bob crying into the phone. Then he told his wife Alice, and I heard her scream in the background. "Are they sure it's Candy?" Bob asked. "Yes, they had her purse and it was her car. She was with a colleague who was driving the car. I think they hit a pole, but I'm not sure. I'll get more information later today. I'm going to call the Atlantic City Police Department," I replied. Candy's parents asked me to keep them informed and to call them if I needed anything. I made coffee and thought about my plans for the day. Charlie woke up and came into the kitchen, hugging me. We hugged for what seemed like several minutes, and there were tears in her eyes. After the children woke up, we fed them, and Charlie dressed them before taking them to their mom. Charlie mentioned that she would tell her parents about Candy. Mom agreed to look after the kids all day so that I could handle my responsibilities, which included contacting the Atlantic City Police Department. I also needed to talk to Joe Miller. First, I went to the police, posing as Jeff Holder. They asked a lot of personal questions to verify my identity. They expressed their condolences on my loss and asked if I would like to receive more detailed information about my wife's death. She was a passenger in a car driven by Bill Akers, and preliminary tests showed that both were intoxicated. Mr. Akers crashed into a light pole at high speed, and unfortunately, my wife was not wearing a seatbelt and was trapped under the dashboard. As a result of the blow, she suffered a broken neck and, according to the medical examiner's conclusion, died quickly. I inquired about Bill Akers' condition and was informed that he is currently in critical condition and will undergo surgery for serious injuries to his lower extremities. His chest was crushed by the steering column, and he will need additional surgery. His chances of survival are currently 50-50. Even if he survives, he won't be able to escape the consequences. Bill Akers will be charged with vehicular homicide in connection with the tragic death of your wife, as it was determined that he was heavily intoxicated, the police officer said. Sir, what steps should I take now, especially regarding my wife's remains? I asked. I advise you to contact a lawyer who will help arrange for the delivery of her body to the morgue of your choice. Her personal belongings will also be sent with her. I will send the accident report to your lawyer for insurance. Mr. Holder, please accept my sincere condolences for your loss, the policeman said. After talking to the policeman, I contacted the lawyer I had talked to earlier. He was surprised that I got a response so quickly and agreed to meet at his office in a few hours. After telling me the details of the incident, he assured me that my wife's body would be sent to the funeral home of my choice. He will handle legal issues, including interaction with the insurance company and my wife's life insurance policy. I was grateful to have a compassionate lawyer on my side. The next person I contacted was Joe Miller, who expressed sympathy for my situation. He mentioned that he didn't know that Bill and Candy had left the hotel. I asked about the circumstances of the accident, in particular the fact that Candy was not wearing a seatbelt, and Bill needed surgery on his lower extremities. Also, I talked to a friend at the police station to get more information. Are you sure you want to hear the details? My friend asked at the police station. Of course, I replied. Candy wasn't wearing a seatbelt because she was pleasuring Bill. She pulled away abruptly and hit the steering wheel, causing it to lose control, and she was thrown under the dashboard when they crashed into a lamppost. It is unknown if she suffocated or broke her neck first. It was a tragic passing away. Fortunately, she did not suffer for long, as the report says. As for Bill, he suffered serious injuries, a collapsed lung, several broken ribs, and a damaged spleen. Additional damage may be detected during surgery. If he survives, he will be charged with vehicular homicide, he said. I expressed my gratitude to him and decided to talk to Charlie. After the coffee meeting, she urged me not to tell anyone about the creepy details, as it might cloud Candy's memories. I decided to stick to the theory that she died accidentally because she was in the same car with a drunk driver. She was the mother of my children, and I wanted her parents to continue to be involved in their lives. There was no point in hurling insults at her. I knew I was above it. Charlie, being more sensible than me, agreed with my decision. I shared the police report with others, and Candy's parents, at Charlie's suggestion, helped me plan the funeral. It was important to them that they had a way to mourn the deceased. The service went well, and both my friends and Candy's friends and colleagues attended. From the way they communicated with each other, I realized that some of them knew about her infidelity. I stood next to Candy's parents and greeted everyone as they paid their respects. Mom and Dad stayed to look after the kids so Charlie could join us at the funeral home. I would have liked to hug her longer and sit next to her, but it was wrong. After the funeral, I had a long conversation with my parents. Taking care of the children alone was too hard for me. We all agreed that it would be better for me to move back to my parents' house. My old room will be returned to me, and the twins will be able to live in a free one. After taking a leave of absence for the funeral, I returned to work without overtime. One day, my lawyer called and asked me to stop by Candy's employer to pick up her personal belongings, including a life insurance check and money from her savings plan. Most of the staff paid their respects, but I noticed that some, like Julie, avoided me. Despite my anger at them for their duplicitous behavior, I decided to leave everything as it was, as Charlie advised. Due to Candy's accidental death, I received $100,000 and several thousand from her savings plan. I have put the money in the bank so far, planning to invest it in the future in the education of children. In addition, I received a large payout from the car insurance company for Candy's car and accidental death, as my lawyer talked to Bill Insurance Company. I received a large amount of money from his insurance company because he was driving Candy's car. I paid the lawyer for his services and expressed gratitude that he did not mention a possible divorce. He just smiled and shook my hand, and life began to seem somewhat normal again. It would be untrue to say that I didn't miss Candy. She was my wife and the mother of my children. I loved her, but it seemed she wanted more than I could give. The children grew up and began to pronounce a few words. It's funny that they started calling older women grandma, including Grandma, Grandpa, and Charlie's mom. The younger women, like my sister and Charlie, they called Mom. I couldn't understand how they could distinguish between these two concepts. As for me, they called me Dad. I would like to know what a typical period of mourning is. I wanted to take my relationship with Charlie to a new level, but I felt I had to wait for the right moment. I still felt confused and struggled to cope with the situation. My parents were incredibly supportive and treated Charlie like another daughter, as they always have. Candy's parents visited the children, or I brought them to them every week. They were cordial with me, but I knew I wasn't their favorite. A few months have passed and they suggested that I arrange a birthday celebration for the children at their home. My parents and my sister's family were present at the celebration, as well as Charlie and her parents, who were relatives. Bob asked for a private conversation with me, and we moved to another room. Jeff, I have to admit that we weren't in favor of Candy marrying you. Naturally, parents want the best for their children, but I realized that you are a good person, and I learned the truth about Candy. After investigating, I discovered that Candy was unfaithful to you. I understand that you knew about this, but chose to hide it in order to protect her reputation and our families. I appreciate your discretion in this matter. Alice and I think it's time for you to move on. You've been grieving long enough for such a young man. We think that you should think about new acquaintances and perhaps find a wonderful partner for our grandchildren. We are grateful for the respect you have shown our family, he said. I was moved to tears and hugged him, realizing how difficult it was for him to bring up this topic. I did not question the source of his information and did not dispute it. The children had an amazing party, and before leaving, I assured Bob and Alice that they would always have a place in the children's lives, no matter what the future holds for them. One weekend, Charlie arrived with a stunning view and asked to talk to her mother. She wanted to know my mom's opinion about her outfit for the upcoming party. Mom came into the room and praised Charlie's appearance, predicting that she would have many fans. I agreed, recognizing her beauty. I was at a loss. I was planning to ask her out this weekend, but then she showed up, all dressed up. She always chooses the perfect outfits. I didn't dare ask about her plans for the evening. Thanks. I should probably go home. See you later, Jeff, she said. Has Charlie been seeing anyone? I asked my mother. Well, of course I have. She doesn't have much free time because of studying, homework, and taking care of you and the kids, but she went on a few dates, my mom replied. Why are you asking? She added. For no particular reason, I replied. I never knew about it. She usually tells me everything, I confessed. Do you really want to know about her personal life? I don't think so. She's a wonderful person, and I want only the best for her, just like for you, Mom advised. Charlie came in later and we sat on the porch and chatted. You looked amazing, I complimented her. She giggled and asked, what do I usually look like? I realized she was teasing me. Charlie, why didn't you ever say you were dating? I asked. Well, Jeff, you were busy with Candy, and before I knew it, you were already married, she replied with a smile. Are you going to a party tonight? I asked. This is not a party, but the wedding of one of my classmates in Columbus. We have a room for the night, she said. At the word we, my heart sank. I felt a mixture of emotions and didn't know what to say. It's a good thing he has more money than I do, because I couldn't afford to stay in a hotel, Charlie remarked. I was confused and disappointed. I had hoped that we could spend time together, but now it seemed unlikely. Who are you going with, Charlie? I asked. She hesitated before answering. It seemed like minutes had passed, but it was only a few seconds. I want you to come to the wedding with me, Jeff, she said. I was even more puzzled. Are you asking me to be your date at the wedding? What about the other guy? I asked. There is no other guy. I want to have a real date with you, not just a casual walk with friends. Your mom suggested that I do it this way. You needed to wake up, she explained. So will you take me? Your mom said she would look after the twins, she added. At that moment, my mother came out onto the porch. Have you asked him yet, Charlie? She asked. Yes, I'm waiting for his answer, Charlie replied. Of course I'll take you. All you had to do was ask, I replied. This is an important date, Jeff. I'm taking a risk by asking you out. I will introduce you to all my school friends, not just as a friend, she stressed. On Saturday, I picked up Charlie, who looked amazing. When we checked into the hotel, I giggled when they asked me for a credit card, and Charlie couldn't help but laugh. I wanted it to be our wedding. She was very dear to me. When we entered the room, it dawned on me that Charlie and I would spend the night together. Although I was aware of this fact, I did not think about it. Refreshed, we went to the wedding ceremony. After the wedding, we went to a reception where Charlie introduced me as her boyfriend, Jeff. The sound of that name delighted me. Sitting at the table with her friends, I saw how Charlie showed a different side of herself when we danced, and I hugged her tightly. Watching her dancing with her friends, I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy that she seemed to feel when she looked at me. After our night together, I couldn't believe how happy I was to be with Charlie again. It was like a dream come true to kiss her again after all these years. This moment was sweet and passionate, evoking memories of our childhood. I couldn't help but laugh when she reminded me of how I compared her kiss to my sister's when we were kids. The evening continued, and we retired to our room, where Charlie asked me to help her take off her dress. Watching her get into a red negligee, I was shocked at how incredibly attractive she looks. At that moment, I couldn't help but confess my love to her, admitting that deep down she had always been more than just a friend to me. I regretted that I hadn't realized this sooner, but she reassured me with her love and forgiveness. When we hugged in the dark, our love and passion for each other only grew stronger. The vulnerability and closeness we shared at that moment is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. Despite my concerns about protection, Charlie's reassurances reassured me, and we made love with a new understanding of our feelings for each other. In the quiet minutes that followed, I found myself falling asleep in her arms, feeling a sense of peace and contentment that I had never known before. The next morning, as I watched her prepare for the day ahead, I couldn't help but feel grateful for our shared love and the opportunity to be together again. Our night brought us closer than ever, and I knew that from that moment on, our love would only grow stronger. After drinking coffee, she handed the cup to me, showered me with compliments, and expressed her love and affection with a kiss. When we were returning home, I couldn't contain my excitement and suggested that she run away and get married. But her answer stunned me. She declined my offer. Confused and offended, I asked her about her motives, if it had anything to do with the children. She assured me of her love for me and the children, but explained that she had always dreamed of a traditional wedding, with a white dress, a church ceremony, and her parents by her side. She reminded me of her childhood dreams and how important it was for her to arrange the wedding she had always imagined. She offered to wait until she graduated from college, which was only a semester away, and get married in June, at the beginning of the summer. Her words touched my heart and brought tears to my eyes. I tried to pass them off as allergies, but she saw right through me and we laughed. We shared our wedding plans with our families, who were very happy and supported our decision. Her parents were delighted, and my mother, although she was very emotional, fully supported us. It was then that I realized how lucky I was to have Charlie by my side, and that she always knew what was best for us. Charlie informed me that we were supposed to visit her Uncle Bob and Aunt Alice, who were Candy's parents. When we arrived at their house, they seemed surprised to see us together. Charlie took the initiative and turned to Uncle Bob, who was with Aunt Alice. Wasting no time, she informed them that we were going to get married in June and asked for their consent. Charlie bravely spoke out against the rumors about our relationship, assuring them that we had never had an intimate relationship while I was married to Candy. She admitted that she cared about me, but she respected my decision to choose Candy at the time. Even though we remained friends, we never crossed that line. Uncle Bob, touched by Charlie's honesty and sincerity, came over and hugged her. He expressed his faith in her words and assured her that their approval was not necessary for her to marry me. Aunt Alice joined them, expressing her wishes and expressing her happiness for the couple. It was a touching moment that cemented their support for our relationship. As time went on, Charlie and I started looking for a house together, and eventually found the perfect place with a yard for children. We made the first payment and were looking forward to our future together. While Charlie devoted most of her free time to planning our wedding, she also found a job at the local doctor's office. I was by her side every step of the way, helping with invitations, catering, and spending time with our children. They began to affectionately call her Carvey, and this nickname melted our hearts. It was our wedding day, and Charlie looked dazzling in her white dress, looking like an angel. Our children played the roles of ring bearer and flower girl, adding innocence and joy to the ceremony. After exchanging vows, we celebrated in the reception hall with our loved ones, enjoying the happiness of our union. It was a day filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a bright future for our family. After the wedding, Charlie and I spent most of the night making love. Then we went to Branson, Missouri for a few days. When we returned home, we were greeted by posters and signs welcoming us to our new home. Our twins, as well as family and friends, were there to greet us. It's been 4 months since our wedding. Charlie has now officially become a mom, and she likes it, but they still call me Dad. Everything was going great. Our children have 6 loving grandparents who adore them. My mom still looks after the kids while we work. We try to see Bob and Alice at least once a week, because they are always welcome in our house. When Charlie came home recently and asked me to sit down, I was overjoyed, expecting bad news. But she surprised me by telling me that she stopped taking the pills a couple of days before our wedding and that she was pregnant. I couldn't help but cry with joy. This may be the end of one chapter, but it's the beginning of a wonderful life with the woman I've always loved.